So, quick update, not a great deal to report, but a few bits and pieces I've done. So first off, I've got a spring, you can just about see that in there, for the hot end mount. So the extruder goes on there, and that spring will just keep the brass plate in contact with the brass bolt. So hot end comes up, presses on there against the spring, takes it away. So I think that worked. They're actually picture frame clips. We'll see how that goes. I think that'll work. I did mention last time that I was going to tart the parts up a little bit, so but I couldn't afford to get them anodized. That was too expensive. But I could afford a tin of paint, so basically I've painted them. It is a bit prone to chipping, so I have to be a little bit careful. But I didn't want the over time the aluminium's going to tarnish. It's nice and bright and silvery now because it's just been machined, but it will tarnish, so that should keep them looking pretty nice. And I think it will look quite good against the black of the frame as well. Anyway, done that. So this is actually the X carriage front part. So there's the belt clamps. So I put screws in all the holes before I sprayed them, so I didn't fill the holes up with screws. I've printed the plastic part. This is just about the only plastic part that will be on the machine, and it has to be plastic because it has to be insulated. So that's actually ABS, and there's a heat set insert in there that takes the brass screw. And a terminal will get crimped on there, so that will go to the I/O pin, and then the brass plate on the hot end goes to ground. So when that's bolted on there like that, that forms both the mechanical stop and the electrical switch. So bed comes up, presses on the nozzle, that swings up away from there, breaks the contact. It won't actually have any movement that you can see. It's just to break the contact. As soon as it breaks the contact, the motor will stop, and that will be Z0. So that's tarted up. There's the back plate, which I've now put brass standoffs for the toolboard. Brass rather than nylon, because the toolboard should be earth. It's got 100k resistor between the mounting points on the board and ground, so it's if there's any static build up in the print head, there's a path to ground through the toolboard. But that won't apply in my case because I can make sure that the print head itself is grounded and the frame and everything. I forgot to mention there are 6 holes in there, but there are only 4 mounting points because there's 2 different hole patterns for depending on which version toolboard. So if I had to change the toolboard and it came up and the one I got was a different hole pattern, the holes are there to suit. So that's that. Some other bits and bobs that got painted. These are one of the Y carriages. That was one thing that I noticed just after I made the last video, was the shafts originally came down below this bottom plate with another R clip on them to hold them in position. But I quickly realised that the X-rail goes through this slot, so it would have fouled on the bottom of those shafts. So I've chopped them off, taken off the R clip, and I've drilled and tapped the plate just there and there, and put a grub screw in. So I could now chop the tops off and do away with those R clips as well. I might do that if I can be bothered. One thing somebody pointed out, I hadn't made clear. I don't have any CNC machining or anything like that. My old lathe and my mill that I use are fully manual. So here's a picture of this is the mill. And this is the lathe. So I have to make, from my OpenSCAD design, I do lots of sketches. Basically I need two-dimensional drawings in order to make bits. So I make lots of sketches and copy the dimensions that are in OpenSCAD and physically write them on bits of paper, and then I get a lump of metal in the mill or something and wind the handles and cut it and shape it and do what I need to do. So a bit laborious, much less easy than just uploading an STL file and slicing it. So it takes a while. So yeah, I think that's about it. Yeah, one of the belt tensioner pulleys all painted up. Changed the screws as well. Quite like these little black button head ones. They don't stick up so far. That's pretty well it. Oh, one other thing. So I'm planning on putting the electronics and power supplies and everything underneath the printer. Be cooler down there, but because it will be underneath, it could be a pain in the backside to get at. So I'm going to put them in a drawer. So I got some drawer runners, heavy duty ones, and I made these, which are the most over-engineered. It's going to be the most over-engineered drawer you ever saw in your life. So this flat plate gets bolted to the frame, and then this right angle bit will have a flat sheet. There's two of these, so there'll be a flat sheet making the bottom. So that effectively makes the drawer. I probably won't bother with the back, and the sides don't need to be any wider than this. I will put a front on it, obviously, but so so that will pull out their full extension runners. So there we go. So they're 450mm runners, although I'll make the drawer 500mm. It's a lot bigger than on their soft close as well. It's a lot bigger than is necessary just to take the electronics, but there's always other stuff you need. I use 3D lac, so I'll have a bit of that, and there's a scraper to get parts off the bed, and Allen keys and other small tools and bits and bobs, perhaps a soldering iron and stuff. I'll stick all that lot in the drawer as well, so everything will be to hand. So that's about it really. I sold my original Duet 2 Ethernet board and the Duex expansion board and a panel due, which I have, which I don't need. So that's raised a bit of money, and I've used that to order a Bontech LGXA, so I did decide to go for that, and I've gone for the Mosquito version as well. So it's a Bontech BMG extruder coupled with a Slice Engineering Mosquito. It's got a very short filament path between the extruder and the hot end, so that makes it really good for doing flexibles. If at some time in the future I want to play around with high flow rate, I could always swap the Mosquito for the Magnum version, but I don't know whether I'll ever do that, but the possibility's there. And I'm trying to flog some other spare parts and bits and pieces that I've got to raise some money. So I'll just need the money for the extrusion I need, which is just about 4 legs, I think. I think I've got enough of everything else I can reuse on the printer. So 4 legs, but they're going to be 40/40. They're going to cost about 100 quid for the 4, something like that. So a bit more saving to do, some other things to sell maybe, and then I'll be able to start tearing the old printer apart and building a new one. Oh, just one other thing that I've printed. I had to make sure that I printed everything I possibly could. So I printed 3 of these. These will be the rollers for the filament, similar to what I use now. So basically it's a hollow tapered cylinder filament reel sits on there, two on the bottom, one on the bottom, one on the top, and the top one just stops it unraveling, and then bearings go in the end like that, threaded rod through the middle, and that makes a roller for the filament. So I had the ones I've got are these, but I can't reuse these, so I want to have the ability to use the bigger 2 kilogram reels as well as the small ones, and the 2 kilogram ones are wider, so these are too short, so I printed these, and the plan is that will sit on top of the machine and feed down. So that's about it for now, and see you next time.